Hi and welcome back to Crafters Grove. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a miniature wreath out of polymer clay, wire, and a little bit of polyurethane. I wanted to make this so that I could help track the days on my wooden advent calendar here. I had made one previously, but unfortunately it broke, and so I'm going to be teaching you lessons that I learned to not have your little miniature wreath break like it did on me. You can also use this wreath as a decoration to hang on your tree, as a mini wreath on maybe your dollhouse, or to track the days on a different type of advent calendar. First, you want to determine what you're making the wreath for so you know the size that you want to make it to. Because I'm making it for this advent calendar, I'm going to continuously go back to one of these little houses to make sure I'm doing the right size and good color coordination. Next, you want to pull out some wire and you want to figure out the size of the wreath. So before you cut your wire, make sure you also have enough excess to allow you to secure the two ends of the wire together and also to make a little hook or a little loop from which you can hang the wreath. For shaping the wire, I'm using round nose pliers. I did this both to shape the wreath portion of the wire, but also I'm going to do that to shape the loop that's going to rest on the little knob of the houses as well. If you don't have round nose pliers, you can use needle nose pliers, or you can use the rounded edge of a marker or a paintbrush handle, and using pressure from your finger help to shape the wire around that rounded object. Wrapping the loop twice is just going to make sure you have a secure place to hold the wreath from. Once you have the hook or the loop finished, and the rest of the wire is generally rounded, you're ready to start placing the clay onto your wire. So for the main part of the wreath, you want to have a forest green or a Christmas green. If you don't have that in your clay, you can use some black either to darken the green clay that you have, or use some white to lighten it up. Once you're happy with the color, put it next to whatever you intend to hang the wreath from, just to ensure that the colors are complementary. You can also try to match it to the wire that's giving it structure. Once you're happy with the color of your polymer clay, you're going to want to roll it into a small roll, about 1/2 centimeter in width. Next, break off little pieces of clay off of the roll about 1/4 centimeter in width. Once you have a good amount of pieces to work with, you want to start rolling them into little balls. You could start with about 20 pieces. You'll likely need more than that, but starting off with several pieces will just allow you to get into a good flow with forming the pieces. Next, press the balls gently down onto a flat surface, pick one up, and gently pinch either end, forming a loose diamond shape. Once you've done that, you want to push the piece of polymer clay gently onto the wire right through the center of the clay. Make sure you're not stacking each piece right on top of one another, but instead slightly turn them so that they're all on a slightly different angle or axis to create texture in the wreath. Once you have 4 or 5 pieces stacked on the wire, you want to push them down all the way to the end of the wire. If you wait until you have too many pieces on the wire, it requires too much force and starts to squish those pieces so they lose their texture and they start to get misshapen. Now it's just a matter of continuing with this process until you've filled the whole loop of wire to form the entire size of the wreath that you're looking for. Once the wire is filled to the size of wreath that you want, it's time to close the ends of the wire together. Now, I found this to be the trickiest part of this project. What ended up happening is, in really securing that closure, my wreath did get quite a bit misshapen, but there's some things that you can do to help reshape your wreath after you close the wire. You can use your fingers just to reshape some of that greenery. You can add little pieces of greenery to any spaces you might have. I did find at the top of the closure there were some spaces that needed a bit more extra pieces added. You can use a toothpick to help separate any pieces that might have gotten squished together. And you can even remove any excess that kind of got pinched off or elongated. And then at the end, I promise you, it will look just as good. So next we're going to make a ribbon out of clay to add to the top of the wreath. Again, pick your color so that it matches both what you're going to be hanging your wreath off of and the wreath itself. Again, I've had to mix some colors just to create that perfect complementary burgundy. Next, roll your burgundy into a very fine roll, about less than 1/4 centimeter, and then you want to cut off about 1 centimeter of clay and flatten those pieces. Before you apply them to the wreath, you want to shape them. One end should be straight, that's going to meet in the middle with both pieces, and then the other end doing a little bit of an angle, like it's been cut on a 45-degree angle, would look really nice. Once you're happy with the shapes, press them gently into the wreath. To form the loops of the ribbon, you're going to cut off slightly shorter pieces and follow the same procedures of flattening and shaping. And then once it's shaped, you're just going to fold it in on itself to form a little bit of a loop. And then place that onto the wreath. The pinched end should line up right in the middle with the middle of the first pair of ribbons. Repeat this step again for the other side of the bow. So because you don't want to flatten these bows that you've made, you want to use a small item like a toothpick just to press down the middle of the bow to secure those pieces into the wreath. Next, with the same roll of burgundy clay, take off little tiny pieces of clay, again about less than 1/4 centimeter. And then you're going to roll these into little tiny balls and press them gently into the wreath. This is going to create the illusion of little ornaments decorating the wreath. After you have a good amount of red balls, you're going to repeat this process with some white clay to add a little bit more interest to the wreath. Once you're happy with the number of ornaments the wreath has, it's time to bake according to the instructions on the package of your clay. Once the wreath has come out of the oven, it actually can be quite fragile because you have all these little pieces that haven't been firmly pressed into the rest of the clay. So to help prevent some of that fragility, it's a good idea to paint the wreath with a coat of polyurethane. I did a satin polyurethane and just made sure to get into all the little creases and get a good coat around all the little pieces as well. And what that did is help secure everything. I actually lost one of the little balls, that white one that I'm showing you, and was able to glue it back with the polyurethane. Allow the polyurethane to cure, and then you're ready to start using it. To store the wreath, I've wrapped it up in the first house, the first day of the Advent calendar. So it's a little surprise along with the other little items that I have in the Advent calendar, but it's also super useful because then it's nicely secured and packaged away for the season, but you get to start using it on that very first day to track what day you're on in December. I hope you've enjoyed watching this tutorial and that it's inspired you to make your own miniature wreath. Please tell me in the comments below how your wreaths turned out and what you're using them for. I'm looking forward to hearing how your crafting is going. If you're interested in more Christmas-inspired crafts, stay tuned. I will be posting more Christmas videos until the end of December, so hit that subscribe button, check off that bell so you get notified when we post a new video, and thanks for watching. Bye!